Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the third and final season of the Netflix mega hit series, Squid Game, which wrapped up on Netflix on June the 27th when it was dropped. It's taken me a minute to do this review because it took me a minute to watch it. And not that I started late per se. It was a couple of factors that went into it. Number one, it was hard to get through. It was hard to get through this final season. I am a huge fan of this show. Shout out to my daughter who got me hooked on this. Well, actually got me hooked on all K drama because that's all she watches. So when Squid Game came along, I finally sat down and watched it, and I was like, man, this is a heck of a show, man. It is really as good as people are saying it is. That first season, and I was completely on board, completely invested in these characters, in this story. And when it came to season three, knowing that the third season was the final season, it was bittersweet because it hits that sweet spot, where it's time to end. Some TV shows just go on, and it already jumped the shark 3 seasons prior, but it's still going on because people still watch it, and the ratings aren't as good as they used to be, but they're still decent ratings, and it's good for the networks and whatnot. But this show went out on a super high. I feel it it ended right. You couldn't keep doing this forever. At least not with this main cast, or in particular Lee Jung-jae, who plays Sung on the show and is our main character that we followed through these 3 seasons. And it was time to, I guess, put an end to his story, finish his story, and it finished in epic fashion. I am completely satisfied, with the ending of this run. Squid Game season 3, it follows Sung and the players fight for survival in probably the most deadliest games of the run of this series. Meanwhile, you have In-ho, who welcomes VIPs while to watch the games live and in living color, while his brother, the detective, continues to search for the island, unaware that there's a traitor in his midst. So it is a lot going on, but it's so good. It's 6 episodes this final season. And in case you don't know anything about Squid Games, you didn't watch any of the seasons, I would say shame on you for not participating in this global phenomenon. But Squid Games is basically a show that revolves around a secret contest where 456 players, and you know that number by heart because our lead character is player 456, and all of those players are in deep financial hardship in South Korea, where this show is based in, and they risk their lives to play a series of children's games. And that sounds fun, but there's twists. It's a twist, a deadly twist to all of these games. But it's for a chance to win 45 billion won, which is in United States dollars. That's basically $40 million. And the games, they're just what they are. They're kids games. You got red light, green light. You have hide and seek and jump rope and all these other good stuff. Just kids game, marbles, shooting marbles, stuff like that. But there are deadly twists to them all, and it's like, my God. But I must say about season 3, they really turned it up to 11. They went full on just bananas with these games, and throughout the show, from season 1 all the way to season 3, There have been some surprising deaths, some shocking moments, and some jaw-dropping moments that a lot of us who watched the show talked about for a long time after it happened. Like, man, did you see that? Man, that really left an impact. Stuff like that. Season 3, man, you want to talk about impact? When I opened up the show talking about how it was hard for me to get through it, I got to episode 2 and I had to stop for about a day and a half. I couldn't get through the first 2 episodes without being emotionally spent by what just happened in those first two, just the first 2 episodes, the shock of it all. And now going into this, everybody knows everybody has a bullseye. Anybody can die on this show. It's really, it's hard to shock you. It's hard to surprise you when it's pretty much open season on these characters. But this show has a very smart and unique way of pulling it out, to pulling it off and leaving you utterly heartbroken at these deaths, man. And it's not flash in the pan type situations, man. You really have to sit there and simmer in it for a while. And it took me about a week to get through this show. It took me a week to get through this season, man. It's 6 episodes. Because after I started back up watching episode 3, I think I got midway through episode 4 and I had to stop again. it was that emotionally draining, and it stuck with me. And as hard as it is, as I guess you could say depressing as some of them are, it's still beautiful in a way. It's still poetic in a way. This is a very, very well put together show. I mean, the genius behind all of this, and I can't pronounce his name. He's South Korean, of course, and my pronunciations, I can barely say English words correctly. So I'm not even going to attempt to insult these gentlemen and ladies a part of this show by butchering their names. But the creator of this show, the man's a genius, man. I am so impressed with this show. So impressed with the writing, the direction, the acting. Everything just worked. And when I talk about how they dialed this season up to 11, you would think after the first 2 seasons that, okay, what else can you do? What other games can you play and twist them into something deadlier? Jump rope? How can jump rope be deadly? Well, Squid Games found a way to make jump rope deadly. And it was so brutal of a scene, or of an episode, because it lasted an entire episode, maybe an episode and a half, to be honest with you. And it just kept you on the edge of your seat, man. My back did not hit the back of my chair for about 2 to 3 episodes this season. I was on the edge, just leaned forward like, oh my God. Oh, wait, no, jump. No, oh, no, don't go in there. The whole season, I was just like a kid. I went back to being a kid watching this show. I had such a good time with it, but at the same time, it ripped my heart out and just stomped it on the ground. At the same time, it was very heartbreaking this season, and at the same time, it was also heartwarming at moments. What you see contestants in these games, even though it's basically every man and woman for themselves, but still pulling together to get through these games, to make it to the end, and survive. Just survive. And bruh, once again, some of the most tear-jerking moments are the sacrifices that were made by contestants for other contestants. And man, it just ripped me apart. characters that you grew to love from last season, and you see the strength, you see them building up to make it to the end, didn't, and and it is so heartbreaking. I guess that's the theme of this review. It is heartbreaking, but in a good way, not heartbreaking like I'm disappointed in the least bit of this season. This was clearly, in my humble opinion, the best season of Squid Game. It went out on a super high note, and that's not to mention the very last scene of this show, which I will not spoil if you haven't watched it. Unfortunately for me, little tidbit, little peek behind the curtain, I was spoiled before, I think on the date, I think on June 27th, and that was another reason why I kind of sputtered out the gate to watch the show. I was so mad that that scene popped up online. It wasn't a scene, it was a picture, and I saw the picture, and it had the little thumbnail or headline underneath it, and I was like, "Ah," and it made me mad. And that's not an invitation for everybody to go look for it if you haven't seen the show. Don't be spoiled by it. Even with me knowing it, I still was kind of shocked at that last scene. We get a surprise cameo in that last scene, and when I mean surprise, you don't get bigger than that cameo that we got at the end of this show. I mean, a actor who would be the last person, and I mean dead last person that you would ever think to pop up on Squid Game. it was it was really a mind trip, because even when I got spoiled prior to watching, I still didn't believe it. I thought it was one of those AI things. So I kind of, it was 50-50, like, okay, I'm spoiled, but at the same time, is that real? And I didn't go any further with it until I finished watching the show. But it will blow your mind if you're a fan of this particular person and of this show. I guess the big question is, what's next? Is this really the end? Well, once again, not getting into spoilers or anything, it's definitely the end of this story. Now, I don't know if they're going to, try to do something different down the line, but if they were to leave it just as this, perfect. I can go to my grave happy with that. If they continue this story, I hope and pray that, well, not this story, but this show. I hope and pray that the original creators of this show will be a part of that show, and I'll leave it at that. I don't want it to be an saturated version or an American version or a UK version of it, and I don't need all that. It's like a few years back, one of my favorite action movies of all time is The Raid, a small little film. I think it's from Indonesia, if I'm not mistaken. But awesome action movie. Probably one of the greatest action movies ever made. I really can't, I don't know no other way to describe it. But due to the success of that film, studios in America wanted to remake it and Americanize it. And I was so mad by hearing that. As of today, as of yet, haven't heard any movement on it. I don't think they can really get a story locked down, because you can't. Just leave it alone. Some things you just shouldn't touch. You shouldn't remake Jaws. You shouldn't remake Back to the Future. And you definitely shouldn't remake The Raid. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. And I feel the same way about Squid Game. In a sense, I think it can be done in an Americanized version, but if you're gonna do it in an American version, make it an American version. I mean, don't even link it to the Korean version. Just do your own thing, And if you're gonna go completely different, don't call it Squid Game. Call it something else. Just leave this as it is. This was perfect. I know I'm only reviewing episode 3, but as a whole, 1, 2, and 3 seasons of Squid Game is absolute premium television. Netflix, take a bow. All the filmmakers and actors involved in this show, take a bow. Squid Game gets a letter grade of an A plus. Perfect television, perfect, and it ended perfectly. You know, it's not bubble gums and riding off into the sunset type of ending. It is actually a beautiful story that wraps up. We get perfect character development and arcs and uh, uh no open-endedness. It really closed the loop on every story that was open. You know, I truly enjoyed it. Maybe a couple, but it's one of those. It's one of those to be continued type things that you had to continue to be continued. You know, you couldn't wrap it up in a final episode, but it is something you can live with. I enjoyed it. I really did. This is one of those shows that, you know, you can go back and just rewatch everything again, and I plan to do that at least once a year, as long as it's on Netflix. Good deal. But I would love to know, what did you think of Squid Game season 3, the final season? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you feel that they wrapped it up nicely, or do you feel that they left the door cracked just a little bit for season 3? I would love to know, what are your thoughts? Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me as we reviewed the 3rd and final season of Squid Game. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.